Hello everyone, I am David Wilson and I am a mechanical engineering student here at the University of Houston. Today I'm going to be giving you a brief presentation over the Code of Ethics that was developed by the National Society for Professional Engineers. Before I dive into the Code of Ethics itself, let me kind of give you a background on what the NSPE is. So the NSPE is a national organization that was developed to address the concerns of professional engineers all across the country and in every field of engineering. More importantly, though, they developed 5 things that they like to hold our engineering community, kind of hold them in regards to. So those 5 things are ethics, accountability, standards and qualifications, professional advancement, and unity. These 5 things I think will be very apparent in the Code of Ethics, and I think they're going to shine through very, very brightly, as you'll see. So here's the code as a whole. Quite long, but not to worry, we're only going to go over that section there. And in that section it says that engineers shall at all times strive to serve the public interest. This is very important in that it is asking engineers to abide by the principles of what is called altruism. Altruism is defined by Merriam-Webster as the unselfish regard for or devotion to the welfare of others. We'll get a little bit more into that as we go through the code, but again, I think you're going to see that these things shine very brightly throughout the code. So the code has 5 subsections, which I like to call the 5 tenets, and I divided them into 2 types. So you have on one side 2 shall nots, and then on the other side you have 3 are encouraged tos. We'll go into both of those equally, but we're going to start with the shall and shall nots. So the shall nots are they're like the hardline rules that we as engineers are asked to abide by. The first one being that engineers shall not complete, sign, or seal plans and/or specifications that are not in conformity with applicable engineering standards. It then goes on to say what we should do if we are asked to do so, which is report the person who asked us to the necessary authorities, and then not offer our services to them any longer. This is very important, and this may sound kind of drastic, but it's very important because it literally helps people not die. In engineering, there are high regards for safety on a lot of projects, and unfortunately in competitive markets, it can be attractive to try to cut corners or do things that are questionable ethically to save on costs. Fortunately, we have this code that holds us as engineers kind of on the front line in regards to making sure that that does not happen. The second one is that engineers shall continue their professional development throughout their careers and should keep current in their specialty fields by doing things like engaging in professional education, reading technical journals on your field, attending lectures, things like that. In general, in order for us to put our best foot forward and do our best work, we need to keep up with the changing of the field as we continue in our career. So when a field develops, you get new lingo, new standards, new practices, and again, in order for us to do our best work, we need to be up on that. So we'll now move on to the are encouraged to section. This section I thought was very, very interesting, and is kind of why I chose this code, because it puts into our code not just rules, but also recommendations. It kind of speaks to the high standard that we as engineers are being held to. So while these are not necessarily required, I think that we should all take them very, very seriously. So the first one is that engineers are encouraged to participate in civic affairs, career guidance for youths, and work for the advancement of the safety, health, and well-being of the community. So when we become engineers, we are kind of being told that we have the level of knowledge to have good informed opinions, be able to make good recommendations, have a say in things in our community, and help those who want to follow similar paths to ours. Ultimately, it's asking us to do things outside of what is required of our jobs and just help our communities as a whole. And again, while it's not required, I think that is something we should take very, very seriously. Secondly, engineers are encouraged to extend public knowledge and appreciation of engineering and its achievements. This really speaks to furthering the field and improving it. When we educate the public on what we do, why we do it, and why it's so important, we help maintain a good picture of engineering as a whole in the public eye. This can come in really handy when we need to secure funding for projects in our cities, when we are looking at facing certain regulations that may tie us up. Ultimately, when we're held in a high regard and people know what we're doing and why we're doing it, we can continue to do what we do at the level that we do and continue to improve it as well. So again, not necessary, but something that you should really consider doing. The last one is very important to me, and I think that not only should it be an encouragement, but I would like to see it become a rule over time. However, as for now, engineers are encouraged to adhere to the principles of sustainable development in order to protect the environment for future generations. So when we do our jobs as engineers, we will come across design choices. We can go different paths with certain designs. We need to take those choices very seriously because making a bad decision can lead to bad outcomes in the future. Not all of them are that serious, but some of them very well may be, and we don't always know which ones are going to be which, how things are going to perpetuate into the future. So when making choices in your designs and when practicing your craft, keep in mind that you ultimately should be trying to create a better future, not a worse one. All that said, all of this together, I really can't sum it up any better. This may sound really cheesy, but I can't sum it up any better than Uncle Ben when speaking to Peter Parker, and he said to remember that with great power comes great responsibility. These are my references. I really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.